Chapter 1. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to lead a life which have imagined, they will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. Henry David Thoreau. Standing at the stern of the Cousteau windship Alcyon, I watched a 17.5-foot long great white shark silently glides by just beneath the shimmering water. A small tag beneath her dorsal fin identifies this shark as Amy. This is not good news. Amy has a particularly bad attitude even for a great white shark. I decide to wait a few moments before jumping into the water. It is the only way for me to get down to my cage, which I can just barely see 6 feet beneath the surface. The cage is all but invisible. Jean-Michel Cousteau is conducting an interesting experiment. He wants to see how a great white shark will react to an apparently cageless diver, that being me inside a hollow plastic tube. This extraordinary cage is the first of its kind. It is built entirely out of Lexicon, a clear plastic that has been known to stop a .38 caliber bullet. Yet, standing at the back of the boat, I couldn't help wondering about the strength of this thin plastic. I mean, how does the impact of an ounce of lead traveling at several thousand feet per second compare to the massive concussion of a 3,000-pound shark doing 30 miles per hour? Watching the great white shark circling aggressively beneath my flippers, I have the distinct feeling that I'm about to find out. Usually diving down 6 feet to the cage is not that big a deal. But this morning, Amy began showing abnormally high interest in my short journey. Is she devising a plan to catch me at the halfway point? I wondered. Many people do not give great white sharks much credit for being very smart. Then again, most people have not gotten to know a great white up close and personal. Amy and I are getting to know each other a bit too well for my liking. She is what we refer to as a resident shark. Her home is Dangerous Reef, an appropriately named location for Jean-Michel Cousteau to conduct his little experiment. Seeing a shark's dorsal fin knifing through the smooth water 50 yards from the boat, I decide to make a quick jump for the cage. Just as my flippers clear the stern, our cook abruptly shouts, "Shark!" Looking straight down, I suddenly see a dark gray form slipping out from under Alcyon. In midair, I realize that the shark in the distance is not Amy. The crafty predator has been hiding under the windship's stern, and we are now on a collision course. An instinctive fluttering in my flippers and arms does not prevent me from splashing into the chilly water a moment later. Instantly, my mask floods with water. A froth of bubbles from my panicked entry further obscures my vision. Yet none of this prevents me from seeing the fast approaching shark. Amy is only 6 feet away, and she is smiling. It is a full-toothed, 2-foot-wide kind of smile that only a really big shark can affect. During a life-threatening situation, it is amazing how time slows down and what amazing thoughts run through your mind. At that moment, I'm remembering Jean-Michel Cousteau's witty comment at the dinner table last night. "If a shark is about to get you," he said with a laugh, "just punch it in the nose." The shark rapidly filling my faceplate happens to weigh about 3,000 pounds. No way was I going to try punching out a great white shark. I instead did the only logical thing I could do. I ran. Turning my back on a torpedoing great white shark is a very scary decision. But my only chance for survival lay in a fast dash for the dubious safety of the plastic cage. From the surface, the crew watches anxiously as I race away from Amy's massive chompers. I swim so fast it astounds the crew, who would later affectionately nickname me Propeller Butt. Meanwhile, underwater, I frantically open the top hatch of the cage and quickly pull myself inside, an instant ahead of the torpedoing shark. Through the clear Lexan, I see Amy charging by. Her pectoral fin hits the cylinder, setting it to swing in the wake of her violent passage. She turns, furious and missing her opportunity, and slams into the thin plastic. In anger, she gnashes her teeth against the cage's thin walls. From the inside, I peer into her gaping maw from only inches away. It is an awesome sight, with sunlight radiating through her gill slits. I can see several feet down her carnivorous throat. Surprisingly, there is a shrimp clinging upside down to the roof of her mouth. What is this, I think to myself? Shark dental floss? Amy thumps the cage with her snout, then glares at me, which is very intimidating considering that we are eyeball to dark orb. I wrap my knuckles against the near invisible plastic just to reassure my subconscious that there is actually a barrier there. Being right up against each other, her huge size is astounding. She is over 7 feet wide, from pectoral fin to pectoral fin. Her gaping mouth has numerous rows of thumb-sized teeth. I couldn't help noticing how her upper jaw dislocates outward each time the teeth crash against the plastic cage. Watching the shark's free-floating dental work reminds me of a trick my grandmother pulled on me. The thought takes me back in time when I was 12 years old. It was winter in Southern California. My grandmother and I were watching The Underwater World of Jacques Cousteau. It was a documentary on sharks. I was on the floor wearing a swimsuit with flippers on my feet. As the divers descended into the water, I put on a dive mask and tried to hold my breath with them. Sitting there with my mask fogging up was pretty exciting stuff. Then abruptly my grandmother's face filled the dive plate. She had her false teeth half out and was chomping loudly like a shark. Our shouts of laughter lured my mother from the kitchen. "What are you two doing?" she asked. "Mom," I answered happily, "when I grow up, I'm going to be a diver for Jacques Cousteau." "Stephen," she said, "you should only wish for dreams that can come true. Jacques Cousteau isn't going to hire some American kid who doesn't even speak French." Luckily, I held onto my dreams and went on to become a Navy frogman. That act laid the foundation for a future that would eventually lead to my becoming a chief diver for the Cousteau Society, and amazingly, I still do not speak French. Thinking about Mom and Grandma, I imagined how fun it would be if they could see me inside this plastic cage with a great white shark chewing on it. Suddenly, I realized that Amy is not in sight. Looking frantically about, I cannot believe that I have lost track of a 17.5-foot long shark. That is, until I glance downward. Amy is torpedoing directly at the bottom of the cage, its weakest point. Only a thin row of hollow plastic tubes lay between the shark and her desire for a human banquet. I feel the hair standing out on the back of my neck, which underwater is a very unusual sensation. The shark slams into the plastic tubes, driving the cage upward a full 2 feet. Swimming vigorously at the top of the cylinder, I see the hollow tubes bulging as the shark forces its massive head between them. She bites the center tube, chewing on it industriously, then begins shaking the cage violently. Just when I think she is going to eat her way inside, a lead ballast weight slides across the cage floor, slamming into Amy's snout. She instantly retreats downward into the gloom. Looking towards the surface, I see Jean Michel and the cinematographer signaling from a steel cage hanging off to my left. By their cheerful hand motions, I know they successfully caught the event on film. Later, this and other footage would prove two things. First, that sharks are unpredictable. Usually, they prefer to ignore humans in favor of chasing fish. During the 7-month period I spent hanging beneath Alcyon's stern, we encountered 64 sharks, and only 3 of them actually made attack runs on my cylinder. The second proof is of a more personal nature. Childhood dreams do come true, but we must help to unlock their doors. The key is to strive for discipline in all aspects of our lives, to try to do good works for others, and to focus our attention on God. When He opens a door for us, we must not hesitate to step through it. Delight yourselves in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will do this. Psalm 37:4.